What up, people? My name is Carmine, and I'm going to be doing a little, I don't even know what you would call it, a tutorial or a little behind the scenes on my new track coming out called No One. Let's do it. Goes like this.
I just keep searching for something.
Yeah.
But I got no one to be.
All right, yeah. I do some cool things. I consider myself a professional songwriter, producer, but I do consider myself middle of the road on some things like mix engineer and mixing in general. So, I'm gonna go behind the scenes on some of the stuff that I did here, some of the weird things, some of the incorrect things, and some of the cool things. I love this track. I think it is. It took me a while to kind of turn it into just an idea that I loved for a while and a rough demo into something that I felt was a little crispier and more professional. But over the course of the past few months, I did that. And with the help of a lot of other people, I got it to that place, specifically myself, though. Let's take a look at the drums. I want to show you what I started with originally. So I started with these MIDI drums. I often, in Logic, just use like the Logic drum kit designer, and just throw on some sloppy distortion or compressors or whatever. And that gives me like a good enough, close enough feel for real drums. And that usually helps me like keep it super simple, but get the idea out. And then I send it off to my buddy Pepe. Shout out to Pepe. He's the best drummer in the world. And, he gets it done. He records professional drums at home. And I highly advise you to send your songs to him and pay him money to put drums on them. Anyway, this is where we started. Wasn't quite as dirty, so we started here. Obviously super simple. I dirtied them up a little bit after Pepe came into the mix, but then they sound like this. And what I really wanted to do here was take away any attack that was coming from the kick and the snare, because when I incorporated Pepe's drums, I wanted that cleaner, crispier signal to be where the attack came from. And I just wanted the original MIDI drums in one part of the song at the end to just have this ambience kind of around the sides of the main drums. But let's dive into the main drums here, because they are incredible. And here they are. Super simple. Pepe's like the most talented drummer that I really personally know or have ever played with, and I'm constantly asking him to play the simplest things and the most pocket things. And although he says yes every time, sure, it's a little frustrating. You want to stretch out a little bit. We have the hi-hat here. Made it sound kind of dirty. Panned it just a little bit to the left, just 7, super simple. I didn't want this to have too much of a stereo feel, to be honest, unlike some other things that I do. Here's the kick in. This is where you're getting mainly the attack and the punch from. And I just threw light compression on a lot of these different sounds. I didn't want to over-compress it, although it's a problem like many people that I've had in the past. And I'm learning to not use compression so heavily before the mastering stage. But this core presser right here is incredible. So I'm squeezing that pretty hard on that kick in. And I just want that high end to come through. Right about between 60 and 100. So then we have the kick out. And this, I throw the Wolf compressor on. I don't really care what I'm doing incorrectly with this. It's all just for style and just a heavy, once again, that warmth and that kind of surrounding vibe around the kick drum. So I just like that boom. And this is something where, I did this months ago, and what I've learned since is to kind of make sure that I'm getting a cleaner kick signal and not making these two compete so much. Try to keep them out of each other's way. All right, so that's hi-hat and kick. Then Pepe does like a knee mic. I believe he uses a dynamic, maybe like an RE20 or something. And I just brightened it up a little bit with a Black Rooster plugin, the V-Pre 73. Let's get a little crispiness, a little boost from it. Mainly focusing on snare there. And then snare bottom. This is where it all changes. All right, so now we're a little more brittle than not. And then that snare top. And that snare top, I'm getting a much fatter sound. The bottom, I'm using it to get real crispy boys. So, yeah. Overhead. Another room mic here. Let's listen to this room mic. I think on the mono overheads and room mics, I used like the binaural panning on Logic. I just wanted to get a little more depth and a little more space out of them. I kind of feel like you can hear it and notice it, but it's not anything too substantial. I like it on this room one right here. And then overhead left and 20 to the left. Like I said, I didn't really split anything too hard here. And then overhead right. And let's throw the whole drums back in there. So nice and clean, nice and simple. I want them to have like a sampled vibe to them. I definitely want them to be gritty, but at the same time, as I just am learning, I'm learning how to make them a little bit brighter, a little bit more present, and how to mix in a lot of different drum mics, because it gets hard at a certain point. Like Pepe will send me like 14 mics, and I don't necessarily know or think that you need them all, but they can kind of hurt you if you don't use them properly. So I'm still working on that, and I think on this one I just narrowed it down to these 10. So I think they got a great presence to them though. So let's move on to bass. The bass on this one, I did a couple things. I usually love layering bass, and I love before, back when I did this, I was using a MIDI synth and getting like this mid bass, medium frequency kind of line going on. But then the bass guitar, I really made deeper and just kind of more like sloppy, rolling back and forth sort of thing. So it sounds like this. And with the drums. And then this is that mid synth line here. So could be like a lead, but I'm not playing high enough for it to really stand out. So I wanted to get lost with that bass guitar. And I want there to almost be too much going on and to have them fighting and pushing the whole time. Right when one starts, the other one stops, and it just keeps going in this cycle. And let's see this other synth here, getting out of bassland. So that's the two of them together. And that one has a little chord stab on it. So, in hindsight, probably should have separated them, but I didn't. So, I don't care. Drums. Now, to me, what makes the whole song, at least in the beginning, is the lead guitar. So the lead guitar really plays off that second synth that I showed. And there's just too many plugins on it to really get into it. I mean, at this point, when I made this, I was just using all Logic plugins. So it's a bunch of crappy stuff that I say crappy with a grain of salt because a lot of their plugins are fucking amazing. So it's I loved the sound so much the first iteration of making this like 2 years ago that I just kept it and I just enhanced it. So just threw a little bit of more compression, a little bit of that brightening on there and some reverb, but besides that, the chorus, microphaser, and distortion is all, Logic stuff. And with everything, it sounds like this.